story of one such occurrence. There were 3 ladies sitting down in this part of the hallway here. Manager of the night came up to check on them. He said, "How's everything going, ladies?" He said, "Everything's going great, except for this jerkhole just stormed through the middle of us. He went around the corner and took off back toward the violent women's ward." The manager said, "What?" Again, they said this guy stormed through the middle of them, went around the corner, took off toward the violent women's ward. He said, "Ladies, can you get up for me for a minute?" So they get up. He brings them around the corner here and shows them. There was no possible way that somebody went between them, went around the corner, and took off back toward the violent women's ward, because that's a dead end. Those ladies left after that. This happened about 11:30 at night, and our ghost hunts will run until about 5 a.m. They were on before midnight. Anyone who worked here could put a patient into seclusion if they thought it was necessary. Because only that staff member that can get you out. So if they put you into a seclusion room like this and went on vacation, you were a little bit out of luck till they came back. Not only would you have been sequestered in a little room like this, you would have been bound at the ankles and at the wrists. And in fact, this one down in the hallway here, we can see there's still an anchor on the wall that they did not take out.
I don't want to go out with this.
After certain medications and patient advocacy laws, they didn't seclude patients as much. They converted these into staff offices. You know how you all would feel about having your office in a seclusion cell. But that's the anchor that I was talking about. This room was, at one point in time, a group seclusion room. If that sounds like a bad idea, it is. This room's actually the site of the most horrific thing that I know of that happened at this hospital. It was September 17, 1987. It involved a patient that I told you about down the hallway. It was him and another accomplice. They ganged up on a 3rd patient. They tied a bed sheet around his neck. They strung him up over the sprinklers here. They lifted him up until he quit struggling. They let him back down again. They lifted him up until he quit struggling. They let him back down again. They did that multiple times. It was at some point they got tired of that, took him down, laid him on the floor, put one of the bedposts over his nipple. They both jumped up and down on the bed until the bedpost inhaled his skull. They both went running out here screaming, covered in blood, saying the ghosts would then kill their friend. I was alive and well in 1987. I remember that year, so I'm not a big fan of hanging out in here. But one night, I had a group of people who would not go anywhere in the building without me. They said, "Can you please take us to where that murder happened?" And I was like, okay. So we all came up here, and we're sitting in this big circle on the floor. We started hearing what sounded like Morse code being tapped out on the floor and against the walls. Then it sounded like somebody dragging something really heavy out in the hallway. Something those of us on nighttime staff try our very best to do is to keep the things we think we see, feel, and hear to ourselves. Ghost hunting is very psychological. The moment somebody says they feel something, it's kind of like a domino effect. This night, I thought for sure I was going to throw up all over the floor, so I said something. I was like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting really nauseated. When you play back my recording, as soon as you hear me say that, you can hear a nasty man's voice say, "And you should be." So that's what happened to me in here, ladies. And like I said, I'm not a big fan hanging out in here, and usually I don't. You know, our historical tours are strictly historical information, no mentions of ghosts, strange feelings, strange sounds, nothing like that. We have actually had people on our history tours get sick up here and have to be
Wasn't that like one of these smoke rooms?
Yes, actually directly across the hallway from it. And there still might be some purifiers up on the ceiling or near the windows, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
That was a bathroom in there.
Why? What's saying my name?
I guess it's the opposite of creepy, but all the doors in this ward are 600 doors, and they purposefully skipped over 666. So I don't know if that's creepy or the opposite of creepy. I'm not really sure.
I think smart.
This is cool. That is new.
So
Hold on, let me get that.
Real quick before we move out into the hallway. Okay, this door. It doesn't just open. You have to engage the mechanism to make it open. I personally witnessed this door open, close, open, close, open, close on its own. It was actually my very last tour before taking maternity leave 3 years ago. My baby will be 3 here in a couple weeks. But at any rate, it was my very last tour before taking maternity leave, and I'm all huge and pregnant, walking, in this direction with my tour group, trying to tell them about this ward, and that door just open, close, open, close, open, close the whole time. And that was something else that I was going to mention when we were upstairs before we got trapped by Amy's group. I told you when Holly came back, she got that disembodied voice telling her welcome back. The night I came back from maternity leave was one of the quietest nights I've ever had in this building. Nothing happened. I got nothing but the crickets chirping. So when Holly was telling me about that, I of course got the chills, but I also kind of got jealous. This ward was the violent women's ward. Staff who worked here would tell you this was one of the most difficult wards to work in. Just because the women were so unpredictable, they liked to plot and scheme together in an attempt to get away, to get the attendants' keys to escape the ward. You can actually see in here, well, we're going to go down this way, but in behind the door here, you can see where it says caution, elopement precaution. They didn't call it escaping. They didn't want the patients to feel like prisoners. So when they talk about a patient getting out, they would use the word elope and not escape. But yeah, it says elopement precaution on the wall right there.
Oh, girls, wallpaper's pretty.
Now, hopefully we don't crisscross with Val's room. She's probably already good to go, I hope. I think I heard her.
No, we're in second floor.
Okay, which way? I was going to come down through B&E that way. Are you guys going that way? Perfect. Yay! I knew we were going to meet up eventually.
They're like looking, I'm like, there's no one for. I'm like, actually, that sounds like Valerie. I think
It is. I'm loud. Yeah, just for a few minutes.
Nothing creepy.
I'm keeping it safe.
For now.
Yeah.
The door moved, but that's about it.
Can we get a draft?
It wasn't a drop. Where did I
This is Ward B. This was a women's admissions ward. Yep. So they'd have been brought here for a brief observation, and they determined where would be best to house them after that. So it's kind of like an observational type ward.
Is that where the doors
The holes in the doors, actually, these were seclusion cells. You can always tell what used to be seclusion on the northern end of the building, because of course the northern end of the building didn't burn down, the southern part did. So it's kind of harder to tell on the southern end, but all the seclusion cells have the eye-high level tile. If you look in, you can see where they used to have the anchors on the walls that they tore off and did an awful job of puttying over. But yeah, that's what these rooms used to be for.
What's that for?
What floor is it?
What happened to the door?
Paintball. In 1998, while the state police occupied the building, a couple of them invited a bunch of their buddies down, had an epic paintball battle throughout the building. They were fired over the incident. Some people's kids, man. If you come to one of our ghost hunts, you got the option of filling out a little evidence report and letting us know what happened to you. We've been compiling these evidence reports over the last 10 years. Anytime you will hear me say something like, well, visitors have reported that, folks have seen this, that's where I'm getting the information from. But a couple of years ago, we were going through our evidence book and we came across about a dozen different reports from people in this ward saying they were talking to Jane. Strange thing was, we were not discussing a Jane on tour or anything like that, and here people were capturing their name in the audio. Even this older gentleman said it felt like somebody whispered it in his ear. Well, Bethany is our resident superhero. She will do the paperwork no one else wants to do, payroll, wrangling snakes, you name it, she does it. Well, Bethany came across a patient record. It was from all the way back in 1884. It was about a lady named Jane Harvey. Jane was a resident of this ward, and one day a nurse walked into her room to discover Jane had hung herself from her bed with her pillowcase. Makes me wonder, is that the Jane that we talked to up here?
What happened to our
What happened to the door?
What now? Oh, I don't know. Maybe somebody busted that while we were out of operation, or it might have even happened when we were in operation. It's hard to say. We sat vacant for about 13 years. Not including the time the state police were in that far end. Well, actually, I'll show you where they used to hang out. Or had offices or barracks or whatever it was that they did, I'm not really sure.
Where's the laser room?
Huh?
Where did you pass the laser room?
It's actually on the opposite end of the building, all the way down there. It won't be a good way to get you all down there, because if we go down there, then I won't be able to take you to lobotomy recovery. Oh, because it's about a 20-foot drop. You remember how I was telling you about the breezeway to the old cafeteria?
Yeah.
That was the northern one. There was a northern one, the one in the middle, the doctor's quarters, and the one on the southern end of the building. Yeah, let me see about how we could get to the police room. Because I know Val and her group are going that way, and they're going to hop down the stairs. Because it's like it's almost before you get to the Civil War wing, so we're like clear on the other side. Shoot, I'm so sorry that I forgot you guys wanted to go down there. Maybe you could nonchalantly walk by. Is that what you'd rather do? Would you rather go to the police room?
I want to go down to the bottom.
You want to take a poll? All right, who wants to go to Lily's room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I think that's
We'll skip
majority.
what? We'll skip what?
To Lily's room, as opposed to going to the
Who's
northern
Lily's
end where lobotomy and recovery was, because it's.
I want to
Is
go
it
to
the
Lily's
lobotomy where they did it behind the eye?
Yeah, actually, I've got a whole entire, like, almost 5 minutes spiel about all that, but, yeah, it's up to you guys. I need to please.
I want to go to Lily's room.
What's something that we can skip that I forgot?
That's pretty much it, really, because below this is the criminally insane ward. The criminally insane ward leads to Lily's, or not Lily's room, it's a lobotomy recovery area. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's a quick way that we could do it. The only way, we're just gonna have to nonchalantly walk by them. Let's do that. And then I think, as long as we don't delay too much, we'll be able to make it down to the lobotomy recovery.
Dang.
Across the first floor.
I'm recording, so I want the whole thing. Yeah. Why not? I'm going to show it to Mom. Yeah, why not?
There was a volunteer working at the Hooters one night. She said she was approached by a little girl. Appeared to be between the ages of 9 and 11. She had long red hair. Asked her if she could come over here. The volunteer opened up the door and said, "Let's go." And we believe that to have been the first sighting of Lily. And I'll point out the room of that. Yeah, it's funky carpets or something.
How do you guys get the photographs of those things? Other people?
The really old photographs, some of them were in books, some of them belong to family members that were donated to us, some of them were just found in the archives. The story that I just told you, this room here. But that's not the room where she talks to us. She talks to us down here. For almost the past 6 years, I've been talking about this shadow man in behind the lattice. A lot of people have reported seeing this shadow man, but I had never personally seen it till this past August. That night, Brandy and I came down to shut a light off down here. The moment we hit that light, we were seeing the silhouette of a man down here by the lattice. Oh, I'm gonna have to get my keys before we go down that way anyway. This is Lily's room. Ghost hunters, guides, people who come to visit. She's amassed quite a collection over the years. I just brought her that blanket.
Did she put it up with that?
Yeah. Yeah, looks like I'm gonna come down here and clean the room again. But this is the room where I saw that big purple hole that used to be in here, wall 3 different times on its own accord. I've not seen any of these smaller walls do that though in recent years. But my new guide, Scott, he's been with us since the spring, and he's been the one to witness balls rolling in here. Like I was telling you guys earlier, it seems like Lily likes talking to the new people, and she doesn't really mess with us old guides a whole lot anymore. Every once in a while, I'll get my little purple mag light to flicker on and off in here, but that's about the extent of it, really. My favorite story from this room involves old management. There were 2 old managers in here with a group of 6 people. The old manager said, "Do you like to dance? Do you want me to bring you a tutu?" And that sort of thing. At night, of course, the light's coming in from the outside, and you can see it on the walls in here. Everybody in the room began to see what looked like the silhouette of somebody doing pirouettes and the light coming in. So the manager instantly thinks there's somebody outside messing with him. So he gets up, runs down through the building, runs around the front of the building. He's standing outside out there, jumping up and down and waving his arms around. Well, from the ground to the bottoms of the windows out there, it's a good 6.5 feet. So they were only kind of barely seeing his arms and the top of his head every time he would jump. And they would see it, just kind of at the bottom of the light coming in. So it's a pretty cool story. Okay, good. We'll make it. You might just be a little bit late. And I'll stop and grab my keys so we can get down that part of the building. First AIDS patient of West Virginia was cared for in there. I don't know if I'm technically supposed to know that or supposed to tell you, but I don't know names, so it's not a big deal. A lot of people have reported seeing the silhouette of a man walking out in the hallway behind him when looking in that mirror. Forgot to mention that on the way down, sorry. Give you the abridged tour through here so I can give you the. Plus, I'm going to snag my keys real quick. Yeah. All right, ladies, hang tight real quick while I snag my keys.
Okay.
You can come out the door. Well, or you can stand in here for a second. It's up to you. That's fine. Wherever you want to do. I'll be right back. Kind of an unorthodox tour route. That's okay. We just did a little awkward. It's fine.
We went down here and then they were
Oh, did they get you?
well, what did I look at and I said, oh,
It smells weird. I'm trying to record. Restricted areas. What's the matter? That woman back there, I thought it was a mannequin. She did too.
In 1989, this became a controlled area. If the door right here was ever unlocked for any given reason, the door on the following side had to be locked and vice versa. Staff who worked the ward, they had their own separate entry here that did not give access to the main part of the hallway. We'll get us all locked in here and I'll tell you about it.
Yay! Locked in.
Locked in.
Oh, I want to get locked in.
I'm good with that. Let's go.
Yeah, it's just to keep people in the museum rooms meandering down. That's all.
Oh, new one.
I wonder what happened there.
Stop.
Someone got mad at you. Me? I did nothing.
Then you knew you were coming.
Oh, I did that.
In 1889, the fire marshal deemed the building for housing the criminally insane unfit for habitation. Weren't enough ways in and out of the building. So they hurried up and they renovated this ward here to accommodate the criminally insane. This was the last criminally insane ward of the building. As I mentioned how staff had their own injury, it led them into the cubicle office where they would remain for just about the entirety of their shift. That's how dangerous this ward was. It would certainly put you ladies in mind of prison rules. If something violent was happening, the nurse on duty, she'd have to contact one of 2 security guards at any given time on campus. They would then have to call local law enforcement who would have to arrive on the scene before they could even go in and sort it out. So often, by the time all that happened, the violence that was going on had went on, so a lot of that sort of thing was overlooked. Back in 2007, that's when the current owners purchased the building. They were having a whole lot of people at that time breaking in the building, taking a copper, and their valuables out. Well, part of their solution to that was to bring in this ginormous, beautiful Great Dane. His name was Boo, and a little couch up right there. Well, one night a paranormal group came in and they set up some static cameras in the area. During their footage, Boo got up off of the couch and he started interacting with something that he hadn't seen. The gentleman who posted it to YouTube said it looked to him like Boo was playing with something unseen. In my opinion, he appeared aggravated. There were a couple of times where he was assuming a defensive posture and the hair on his back was standing up. Now, whether he was playing or whether he was agitated, I can't be 100% sure, but I can be sure that that's often peculiar behavior for a dog in total darkness in the middle of the night. One night, I brought a couple ladies down here with me and I was using the spirit box. I said, does anybody remember the name of the dog that lived here? What was his name? And just plain as day, the word boo came through the radio static. I asked the ladies with me, what did that say? They were like, oh, that says boo. That's before I told them that's what his name was. Since we've been coming down in here more frequently lately, I have gotten a lot of reports from our visitors describing the shadowy figures seen in the nurses' station. Because for the longest time, we really didn't come down in here a whole lot. Basically because the first floor is massive. You remember how I told you it was 25 feet short of a quarter mile from end to end? That's on the first floor. So you're really hard pressed to get to everything in 2 hours. Back in April, our cameraman, from November to August, we were filming some of our ghost hunting sessions. We're trying to piece together a documentary. In April, we were filming a group having a session down here, and we heard this metallic ping sound seem to come from the pass-through window back there. A lady in the group spoke up and said, can you do that 3 times? And it went ping, ping, ping. We caught it all on video. In addition to the shadow figures folks will report seeing in the nurse offices, quite a few have talked about seeing them down here by the bay window. One afternoon, I think I might have seen a shadowy thing move across the window, but I don't know, I was alone and I never trust my own eyes. The patients of this ward, they were so bad about smuggling in contraband and things that they shouldn't have, that they ended up bringing a couple of washers and dryers into the ward. They started doing their own laundry in here. It was the only ward on campus where they were doing the laundry in the ward, and that was just to prevent them smuggling in contraband. The patients here, they loved cigarettes. They loved to smoke so much that staff was able to use that to curtail bad behavior. If you misbehaved yourself, you didn't get your cigarette on the hour. This room here was a smoking room for the criminally insane. They once had a table with attached bar stools anchored to the floor here. Their television set, that's what was encased in this protective box on the wall. That way, they could take neither of those items, break them, and fashion them into weapons. I never really gave this room a whole lot of thought. That is until the night just a little over 2 years ago. That night, I got stuck on cashier duty during the ghost hunt. That basically means you sit in the break room all night, babysit everybody's belongings while they go off exploring the building. Well, I figured since this was kind kind of off limits, I could bring my voice recorder down here, leave it, and nobody bother it. So that's what I did. I brought my recorder down, set it in the window ledge over there, and I put a cigarette beside it. I said, any of you guys, you can have that smoke, but you gotta do me a favor first. You gotta talk into the red light, and I left the room. When you play back my recording, you plainly hear me leaving the room, followed by a man's voice, just as plainly saying, Valerie. I sent it to 20 of my friends without priming them or telling them what I thought the man said. Every single one of them came back with, you said your name. So ever since then, I'll come through here in the morning to unlock, I'll tell him good morning. But if I'm coming through here at dusk or later by myself to unlock, I'll go ahead and avoid the room entirely. And I tell him, you know my name, it's only fair I know yours, and I don't get anything. So I think sometimes we might not get to know them, but after a while, they get to know us.
Whoa.
I got a method about how I introduce the area. This is the start of my typical tour route. So back in 2013, the New York Times, they called my boss. They told her that they wanted to write this awesome article about the asylum just in time for Halloween that year. They asked her if they could spend the night in the scariest part of the building when they came to do it. My boss, Rebecca, said, I love that idea. I know right where to put you. She was talking about down here.
Cool. Oh, yeah.
It's not too bad in the daytime, but it's a little sketchy.
At night.
Yeah, oh, even more sketchy at night.
You been down here at night?
Huh?
You been down here at night?
Oh yeah, a lot.
What's that?
And I would say it is among the most creepy, but you know, I don't have too much of an issue walking through here alone, but a lot of us on night staff, we don't like this area at all. When the guys from the Times showed up, they took about a 10-minute look around down here. They decided they were not sleeping down here. So the manager that night said, okay, I know the next best place to put you. He was talking about a room up in that criminally insane ward that we just came through. Well, they were all well and good with that, so they set up their beds in one of the rooms. They were in there all of about an hour and a half. That's when the journalist's partner, he went running out of the building into the rental car. He would not come back inside. While they were in there, they kept hearing what sounded like heavy furniture being dragged across the floor in this very spot. The journalist partner, he had heard enough. Eventually, the journalist also left, so neither one of those guys spent the night in the building as they had planned. That very same year that the New York Times visited us, we had a flashlight tour that went through this area. During one of the flashlight tours, a lady in a group took a series of 3 photographs down this hallway. When she got to the third one, she started jumping up and down and hollering that she got something. Well, let me show you what she was talking about here, because it is one of the best photos of something paranormal that I've ever seen.
Whoa.
Dude, that's far out.
Where was that?
This hallway here?
That's a person.
Yeah.
It's a little, it looks like a little girl.
It absolutely does.
Excuse
and
me.
for about a month, surrounding when this was taken, there were people on our maintenance, there were visitors, there were other guys. You were hearing a little girl laughing down here. There's a big part of me that wonders, is she from forgetting nothing? 2013. So it's been a while. More recently, I heard this gentleman talking down here. Surely it's some guys.
Oh, what do you think I should? People keep like shoving me out of the way and I'm recording.
So I'm
recording and people keep shoving me out of the way.
No engines had turned over in the meantime, there were no lights on in the building, nobody was outside. And then I got to thinking about it, you know, from back in this wing all the way to where the ambulance building is, it's a pretty long distance to just be hearing a casual conversation. That's what it sounded like. So, I know that was back in March. No, it was April. Yeah, it was toward the end of April when that happened.
Everyone's trying to get a picture.
In the late 70s, early 80s, they called this part of the building the Adaptive Skills Center, and this is the arts and crafts wing of the Adaptive Skills Center. Patients would come, learn basic living skills. They would do physical
I'm
therapy,
going now.
occupational therapy. They could get their GED if they didn't have it. They could have learned a trade, those sorts of things.
It looks like a little kid's wing.
Get themselves out, but at that time, yeah, just depending on the era and what laws were in effect, they didn't really make a lot of the modern day advocacy laws until the late 70s. So there were some far out things happening here, for years, as far as, performing the bodies without consent and that kind of thing. Guys, have a chance to look back there? Yeah. There's no back there. Oh, okay. And now that's the building in your mind. That's actually the second oldest building here, the women's auxiliary building.
Are we going into any of the outlets?
Sorry.
That's really the only other tour that goes out there is the CI tour, and I believe the 4th floor history tour goes just into the 1st floor of the medical building. But as I kind of mentioned, how a lot of people would consider this to be the scariest part of the building, I think it might